How's it going, everybody? It's Partly Flame, and we are back with another preseason FPL video. And today we're continuing our Team Watch series, and up next is Everton. We're going to take a look at their defensive, offensive assets, as well as their transfer activity for this summer. If you haven't done so already, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel if you are new or haven't done so already. It greatly helps out the channel, as well as turn those notification bells on so that you can get the content as soon as it is readily available. Drop us a follow over on Twitter so that you can keep up to date with any and all FPL news, from price changes to injury news and anything in between, as well as give us a follow over on Twitch so you can see when we go live for our preview and deadline streams, which will be starting back up the week of game week 1, and any impromptu FPL streams will always be on Twitch. Now, without further ado, let's look at Everton's defensive assets, which I've marked for this FPL season. So with Everton, there's going to be a lot of FPL managers that are going to be avoiding them this season and kind of wait and see what a full preseason will look like under Frank Lampard, who came in partway through the season and almost, I say almost, got them relegated, which would have been disastrous for a club like Everton, who are looking to rebuild a new stadium and all these sorts of fancy things. And typically we want to see Everton, a club of their stature, up towards the top half of the table fighting for European places. But if you look at their season stats just above me here, only 50 big chances across the whole season, 270 shots inside the box, 48.32 non-penalty XG. It's just not great. It's just not what you want to see. They need to improve on that, and as well as they need to improve on their defense as well, because it seemed like every time there was an attack at them, they were hoping that Jordan Pickford turned into Superman, or they just conceded, basically, which is what happened 99.9% of the time. Their defense wasn't very good at all. And Lampard's not the coach that's going to potentially help that, so you're going to have to look for more attacking fullbacks or something like that for Everton's defense to potentially be of use. Now, looking at the prices, we have pretty much a reduction across the board for Everton's defense. Pickford was 5 million last season, now 4.5. Same with Mykolenko, who came in and was quite good. He looks to be probably maybe the most threatening, playing in that left back role. 0.5 XGI isn't terrible for an Everton team that just basically wasn't doing anything, but over 4 games, it's just not great. For 4.5 million, you could potentially get better. You know, the likes of Lamptey, if he's playing game in, game out for Brighton. Tomiyasu is probably going to provide a little bit more at Arsenal. There's just better options potentially, but if they improve attacking-wise, Mykolenko would definitely benefit from that. And then you have the likes of Mason Holgate, who I've put on here, Godfrey, Yerry Mina. These sorts of players are probably just going to play center back most of the time and are going to be more of set-piece threats. Not really what you're looking for in a defender. If you're going to go for somebody who's going to start game in, game out, who's going to play center back and not be much of a goal threat, you just go for Ben White at Arsenal. It just makes more sense. Plays for a better team, more likely to have more clean sheets available to keep for them versus Everton, who, again, defensively from the eye test just wasn't very good, and then from actuality, they weren't very good either. They do have a promising set of opening fixtures. Yes, opening day isn't great, playing Chelsea at home, but they do have a run of 4 fixtures. Actually, it goes up until game week 5, where it's FTR ratings of 2 on the official FPL difficulty rating scale. Aston Villa away, Forest newly promoted at home, Brentford away, and I believe they have someone else. I think it's like Wolves or something like that, which would be, you know, normally a easier set of fixtures, and then they have a couple of tough games after that. So maybe that 4 games is where we target them, see how they do versus Chelsea, because they'll be at home, which is somewhat of a benefit for them. It became very important for them last season, at least for keeping clean sheets. They kind of got a little bit, or at least keeping the goals down. Goodison Park helped them kind of revitalize themselves, dust themselves off, and pick themselves back up when things weren't going as well as what they should be. But personally, I'm not going to be going anywhere near Everton's defense. There's some attacking assets that might get in a budget spot, which we'll talk about in just a second. But I think if you're going to look at them, probably game week 2 to game week 5 would be the time to potentially take a punt on one of them. But to be honest, I think there's just better options there at the moment. So with that being said, now let's take a look at some of the attacking assets, which could provide some budget options later on in the season. Now, Everton are going to be classified as 5.5 million FC. They have so many players at 5.5 million. They have Damari Gray, Gordon, Dele Alli. They have so many players for 5.5 million that you could just Townsend as well. Andros Townsend. They have so many players at 5.5 million that are all going to play in similar sorts of positions. They're going to play in a 3 behind the main striker, or they're going to play in a front 3 off the left or right hand side. Demarai Gray typically plays off the left-hand side. Gordon will play off the right. I put those two in there because they seem to be the most impactful when it came to the wide positions. Townsend got injured and didn't really play too much. And just pretty much everyone else just was very lacking in that department. Richarlison was probably the only kind of major figurehead in that front line, and he's gone off to Spurs. So really slim pickings now, and they're going to have to increase their attacking output. The real kind of head scratchers, that Calvert-Lewin was 7.5 million last season. He's actually gone up in price, and his season was riddled with injuries. Wasn't very good when he did play. I'm just a bit confused with that one. I could have seen him go down to 7 million. That would have probably made more sense than him going up. It just makes no sense to me. I mean, Bamford was 8 million last season. Calvert-Lewin was 7.5. Calvert-Lewin was injured just as much as Bamford was, and Bamford goes down, but Calvert-Lewin goes up. That just really doesn't make too much sense to me. But we'll have to wait and see on that one. Maybe Calvert-Lewin gets back to his old form from 2 seasons ago when he was really, really good when James Rodriguez was still at the club. And he starts putting the ball in the back of the net more regularly. I think we're going to see more of the Everton of what it was like under Carlo Ancelotti, which was basically cross the ball into Calvert-Lewin because he's very good in the air. And if there's people who can do that, Demarai Gray and Gordon are, very good deliverers of the ball. We also would think that Dele Alli playing game in, game out could provide as a shadow striker, almost mimicking what him and Kane did at Spurs several seasons ago. If they can do that, then maybe Everton will have a successful season. If the chemistry doesn't gel well, and Dele Alli kind of played how he played in the last couple of seasons, then it's probably going to fall flat on its face, because I think Everton are one of those teams where a lot of people in the football industry are looking at them saying they could easily have a bad start, even with good fixtures from game week 2 to game week 5, and they could already be fighting relegation from game week jump, basically, which would be unfortunate, basically. And I think maybe Leeds, who we'll talk about as well, they could be potentially in that. There's a couple of clubs where any of the promotion teams are obvious, where it's like, well, they're just fighting to stay up just in general. And Everton, even though the stature of the club, they could be fighting an uphill battle from the off. So we'll have to wait and see on how they set up in preseason, if there's anything that could catch our eyes, FPL-wise. And we'll be taking a very close look at Calvert-Lewin, because he's going to be basically their main out, as it were. He's the one who's dangerous in the air. He has that X factor, and we'll have to see if they play to his strengths and he can get off on the right foot. Now, with those two, the defensive and offensive assets being discussed, let's see if they're doing anything to strengthen in the transfer market. Now, Everton has started this transfer window a bit on the slower side. Personally speaking, I just think that they need to be a bit more active. They do have quite a bit of debt from what I know in the club, as well as the whole new stadium looming over their head. That's going to be quite a hefty chunk. And I think that could cause some problems in the transfer market when they need to strengthen at their most crucial point, having almost been relegated last season. They have picked up a very good signing, though. James Tarkowski has come on a free transfer from Burnley, 4.5 million. He's going to be your starting center back almost game in, game out, whether they play a back 3 or a back 4. James Tarkowski, you can bet, will be in there and will strengthen them from set pieces even further. For the ins as well, they've been looking at Harry Winks, who seems to be kind of cast aside from Spurs. He would help strengthen the midfield, almost certainly. A bit more control in there. Could play alongside Decore Allen, who seems to pick up injuries and is constantly suspended through to just accumulation of yellow cards. Him alongside Decore could provide a decent enough base for the front 3 or front 4, depending on how the system shapes out to be. Most likely going to be a 4-2-3-1. And he could be a part of that. And in that case, 4.5 million as a starting central midfielder could be fantastic. If you have Winks and Decore with the likes of Dele Alli just in front of them, that could be a recipe for success. Then they're also looking at Maxwell Cornet, also from Burnley. He would help strengthen their attacking options in the forward line. I think personally they need to go for maybe more of a guy who could play through the middle as an out-and-out forward. Maybe Cornet can do that. I haven't seen too much of him do that. He's always played with another like big man, small man type system. Maybe he could play through the middle by himself. We'll have to wait and see. But again, he's also fairly injury prone, picks up knocks here and there that leaves him out of games or requires him to be substituted off early. Maybe that one's not necessarily the best, but they could get him on a nice cheaper price because Burnley were relegated, hence why they were able to get Tarkowski on a free as well. I think his contract was expiring, but Cornet still, I think, has a couple years left on his deal at Burnley as well, but that price is going to be reduced because they were relegated. In terms of the outs, Gordon has been linked away from Everton. I believe Newcastle were interested in him, so maybe that's where the Cornet interest has come in as a replacement for Gordon. Richarlison has made his big money move to Spurs, close to £50 million. Again, these are just approximations, as mentioned on the graphic. And they could need potentially Cornet as a replacement for Richarlison. You might see like Cornet one side, Damari Gray on the other side with Calvert-Lewin through the middle and Dele Alli just in behind them. If Gordon were to make his move on as well, they could be changing that front line and be more of a more modern 4-3-3 maybe. Have Cornet and the likes of Damari Gray being more inside forwards rather than out and out like kind of old school wingers just crossing in the ball for Calvert-Lewin. And then lastly, John Joe Kenny has also left the club as well, further depleting their resources at fullback. I think they also need to invest there as well, potentially on both sides, to be honest, because Seamus Coleman isn't, the fullback that he once was. And I think that they need a real presence there. You can't just keep sticking the likes of, Mason Holgate or Godfrey out on that side when they're proper center backs, to be honest. You got to have somebody that's going to play at fullback. And for Frank Lampard's system, one that can overlap and one that can whip across him, because that's what he's going to look for as well. So I think they need to speed up the transfer market just a little bit. I think they've done decent enough business so far. The rumors are looking okay. I think they've got a decent bit of cash in for Richarlison. If they could spend that money wisely, then Everton could be on the path to a much more productive season under Frank Lampard than they were last season. So we'll have to see how that one pans out and who they bring in. But let me just take down in the comments below, where do Everton need to strengthen for this summer transfer window? Welcome to the Fantasy Football Scout members area, the one place that you need to be tuned into for the upcoming FPL season. It has a wide variety of resources and tools that will help improve your FPL game today. It has a bunch of different members-only articles written by some of the best FPL managers across the globe, heat maps for all the players and positions, as well as player comparison tools, which will help you see side by side who is going to be more effective for your FPL team, fully customizable stats tables powered by Opta stats, and much, much more. Use the link down in the description below so that you can get access to the Fantasy Football Scout members area today. It'll help improve your FPL game. This video has been sponsored by Manscaped, the best in male below-the-waist grooming. Make sure to check out manscaped.com so you can see the latest and greatest updates to their lawnmower, as well as their performance package, and much, much more for all their gadgets and gizmos to help keep your family jewels looking as shiny as ever. Make sure to use the code FLAME20 so that you can get 20% off your next Manscaped order, as well as free worldwide shipping. Go check out manscaped.com today. And that's going to do it for Everton's edition of Team Watch. If you haven't done so already, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel if you are new. Haven't done so already, it greatly helps out the channel, as well as turn those notification bells on so that you can get the content as soon as it is readily available. Drop us a follow over on Twitter so you can keep up to date with any and all FPL news, and give us a follow over on Twitch so you can see when we go live for our preview and deadline streams. Also, make sure to join our FPL League. I've managed to set that up now. It is fully active and running. If you're in it last season, it should just auto-renew, but we have a new code in the description below, but also the link code is over on my Twitter as well. And lastly, make sure to check out Fantasy Football Scout. All the stats that you saw in today's video were from their members area. They will help elevate your FPL game. Thank you all for watching, and until the next one, take care.